America is boiling. Mass arrests in Los Angeles, armed confrontations in Chicago, protesters blockading ICE in Manhattan, National Guard, Marines, even rumors of tanks on American streets. The federal government and state leaders at war with each other. Foreign protests mirror American unrest. This is not 1861. But are we seeing modern echoes of the American Civil War? America is once again standing at a crossroads. The divisions feel sharper than ever. Political violence simmers under the surface, millions marching in the streets. And an echo from the past whispers through the turmoil, the American Civil War. Are we witnessing history repeating itself? Today, we explore the chilling parallels between the Civil War era and today's anti-Trump protests and political instability. And more importantly, what might come next. Let's first understand the present moment. Across Los Angeles, federal troops have been deployed to confront increasingly violent protests. DHS, LAPD, and National Guard are confronting protesters armed with Molotov cocktails, small arms fire, and even suspected explosives. Federal buildings in Seattle have been besieged by Antifa-aligned mobs. In Chicago, police are deploying bomb squads after rioters plant devices in sewer systems. In Denver, unlawful assemblies are declared. In NYC, thousands block federal offices. Police injured, protesters arrested by the hundreds, federal officers retreating at times under attack. The political conflict is escalating too. President Trump threatens to invoke the Insurrection Act. California Governor Newsom accuses Trump of authoritarian overreach. National Guard deployments surpass U.S. troop levels in Iraq or Syria. The protests coincide with Trump's military parades, his birthday, and national patriotic holidays, adding symbolic fuel. Polls show 59% of Americans, including 56% of independents, approve Trump's use of the National Guard. Meanwhile, over 100 Democrat-aligned organizations plan mass protests under the No Kings banner. To understand today's crisis, we must first examine the roots of America's first great rupture, the Civil War. In the 1860s, America was divided over slavery, state rights, and federal power. Two competing visions of America clashed, one built on expansion, industry, and free labor, the other on the institution of slavery and an agrarian elite. Today's divisions are different in subject, but strikingly similar in structure. Instead of slavery, the divides are over race, immigration, globalization, gun rights, identity politics, and the very definition of American democracy.
Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes.
Then and now, two sides see fundamentally different visions for the country's future. In both eras, cultural elites and working-class groups lined up on opposite ends of the spectrum. In both eras, deep moral questions became tied to economic fears. And just like the 1860s, both sides feel existentially threatened by the other. The first parallel is unavoidable: federal versus state power. In 1861, the conflict began when states rejected federal authority on slavery and secession. Today, California's governor publicly refuses federal military orders. California courts attempt unsuccessfully to block federal troop deployments. Newsom: democracy is under assault. Trump: we will liberate Los Angeles. Like 1861, federal legitimacy itself is questioned. Governors defy federal directives. States coordinate regional resistance. Federal courts are increasingly political battlegrounds. Before the Civil War, Congress was locked in bitter gridlock. The Missouri Compromise, the compromise of 1,850 attempts to balance the country, only delayed the inevitable. Today, Washington is paralyzed. Bipartisanship has almost vanished. Both parties view the other as illegitimate or even dangerous. The radicalization of both the far left and far right mirrors the growing extremism of the 1850s. Moderate voices are drowned out. Compromise is toxic. The very legitimacy of elections is questioned by both sides. 860, when states seceded, militias formed quickly. The military ultimately split. Many Southern officers joined the Confederacy. Today, the military remains largely loyal to constitutional order, but police forces have sometimes become politicized. In 2020, National Guard troops patrolled American cities. Questions arose about how the military would respond if future political violence escalates. A fragmented or politicized security force could become dangerous in any future crisis. In 1861, local militias defied federal orders, much like some local police refusing federal assistance today. In the 1850s, violence in the streets escalated. Bleeding Kansas saw armed militias clash. Senator Charles Sumner was beaten on the Senate floor. Today, America has seen massive anti-Trump protests, BLM demonstrations, clashes in Charlottesville, and of course, the January 6th Capitol riot. The violence remains episodic, but the volatility and the willingness to turn to force echoes the pre-war years. Militias, political intimidation, street confrontations, the ingredients of political violence are present on both sides. Now National Guard and federal troops face not just protesters, but local law enforcement friction. Over 800 Guard and Marine personnel are deployed in LA, more than active duty in Iraq and Syria. The symbolism of Trump's military parade is chilling. Massive military parades signal state strength or desperation. Similar optics once divided Washington and Richmond. 1861. Newspapers polarized America. 2025. Social media radicalizes both sides. In 1861, newspapers like the Richmond Dispatch and New York Tribune fanned division. In the 1860s, newspapers were fiercely partisan. Northern and Southern papers offered two completely different realities. Today, we see something eerily similar. Now, MSNBC, Fox News, Twitter, and TikTok push polarized narratives. The New York Times, Breitbart each often presents vastly different narratives of the same event. California officials call riots incidents. Federal agents call them terrorism. Online calls for armed insurrection mix with peaceful protest slogans.
You're advocating peaceful protest. Did not create any violence. Nobody was shot. Nobody was killed. Get it in your head. And so when martial law is called, what are you going to say? I missed the point. Don't miss the point, you all. Don't think that somehow, because they called out the National Guard, there was violence. There was no violence. I was on the street. I know. And I went from downtown detention back out into the community, talking to people what happened in Paramount, what happened in Compton, what happened in Inglewood. So, first of all, get it straight. And don't just rely on what you're being told or the few incidents that you saw.
But today, social media accelerates the cycle. Algorithms create echo chambers. Conspiracies, misinformation, and emotional content travel instantly. Back then, it took weeks for news to travel. Now, it takes seconds. The potential for misunderstanding, outrage, and escalation is exponentially higher. 1861, slavery divided North and South. 2025, immigration divides America. The anti-ICE protests echo slavery debates, only now it's about illegal immigration, sanctuary cities, deportations. Protesters chant, "No ICE in law," while Trump orders mass deportations. California declares, "We will not deport our people." Trump frames it as a battle against foreign enemies, invoking national security language once reserved for war. Like slavery once divided America along moral lines, immigration now divides along sovereignty lines. Who has the right to live in America? Who controls who enters or stays? The same unresolved existential questions with different faces. 1861, agricultural economy versus industrial North. 2025, globalized elites versus working class nationalists. Economic disparity fueled rebellion. Today, blue-collar Americans feel displaced by migrants, automation, and elite wealth. Protesters claim economic justice. Trump supporters claim economic protectionism. Both sides see existential threats to their livelihoods. Economic power struggles remain core to civil divides. Economic instability always fuels unrest. In the 1860s, the Southern economy was built on slavery. The North's industrial expansion threatened that system. Today, America faces globalization, automation, the decline of manufacturing, and growing wealth inequality. Many Trump supporters are rural, white, working-class Americans who feel left behind. Many anti-Trump protesters are younger, urban, diverse, but equally anxious about housing, healthcare, and inequality. Both groups feel alienated but blame different enemies. 1861. The Confederacy coordinated across states. 2025. The No Kings movement coordinates nationally. Over 100 organizations planning synchronized protests nationwide. Riots erupt not just in LA, but Chicago, NYC, Denver, Seattle, and internationally. Foreign countries, Colombia, Germany, Italy, mirror American unrest. The pattern of coordinated multi-state uprisings dangerously mimics early Confederate organization. Foreign powers watched the 1860s conflict with interest. Britain and France debated recognizing the Confederacy. Today, foreign actors like Russia, China, and Iran actively seek to destabilize American politics through cyber attacks, disinformation, and propaganda. America's internal divisions are being weaponized from abroad, just as European powers once sought to manipulate American weakness. So what does all this mean? Are we heading for another civil war? The good news: a full-scale war like 1861 is unlikely. America is more economically integrated, and the federal government is far stronger. But smaller-scale political violence, that danger is very real. We may see political assassinations, widespread street violence, paramilitary clashes, election-related disruptions, mass protests and riots, constitutional crises around contested elections. Scholars call this cold civil war, a conflict fought with media, courts, protests, and sometimes sporadic violence, but not full-scale armies. America is not heading for one great clash, but for prolonged internal destabilization. A new cold civil war, rolling waves of conflict, protests, counter-protests, and political paralysis. Violent pockets will erupt, but most will remain simmering tensions. Federal overreach may increase, provoking further state defiance. Radical fringe actors will continue stoking fires from both sides. Final thought: Donald Trump may be the catalyst, but the deeper roots run far older. America's unresolved cultural, demographic, and economic divides remain the true fuel. What should we prepare for? Economic volatility, information showers, increasing authoritarian measures from both sides, and most dangerously, the slow erosion of trust that holds a republic together. Let's be clear. We are not yet in full-scale civil war, but we see advanced symptoms of systemic breakdown. State versus federal confrontation, political radicalization, armed groups, media propaganda, economic destabilization, widespread lawlessness. What differs from 1861? No clear secessionist states, interwoven populations, advanced federal surveillance. What is similar? Existential crisis of national identity, violent street conflicts, breakdown of federal-state cooperation, militarization of domestic politics. History doesn't have to repeat itself. America has faced serious divisions before in the 1960s, during Watergate, after 9/11. Solutions require restoring trust in democratic institutions, depolarizing media ecosystems, economic reforms to reduce inequality, political reforms to reduce gerrymandering, honest national conversations about identity, race, and justice. It will not be easy, but recognizing the danger is the first step. Conclusion: Trump is not the cause, he is a symptom. As we've seen, Donald Trump is not the cause of America's divisions. He is a symptom, a reflection of tensions that have been building for decades. Like Lincoln in 1860, though on the opposite end of the spectrum, his rise exposed existing fractures. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected president, a polarizing figure for the South. His victory triggered fear of Northern domination and the collapse of the Southern way of life. The South seceded and the nation split. Today, Donald Trump has become a similar lightning rod, though reversed. For many Trump supporters, he represents a last defense against what they see as cultural and political overreach by the coastal elites, globalists, and the so-called deep state. For his opponents, Trump embodies authoritarianism, racism, and a threat to democratic norms. Both Lincoln and Trump didn't create the divisions. They symbolized and magnified existing rifts. If America is to avoid disaster, both sides must confront the real sources of conflict, not just the personalities at the center. History offers a warning, but also a guide. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Subscribe and step into the real world of geopolitics, no filters, no propaganda. Stay updated with deep dive geopolitical analysis and join our growing community for real discussions. Exclusive interviews with fighters from Ukraine and the International Legion are coming raw, unfiltered, and only here on Global Tensions.